Welcome back. My name is Rome Bailey. Today's topic I want to be covering is skylights. So 3 things I want to get into today is, first of all, why have a skylight? What is really the purpose of it? The 2 most common types that you're going to run into. Secondly, I'm going to go over when to replace them. When does it really make sense? Is it based on age? Is it based on condition? Also, I can touch a little bit on flashing. And then thirdly, I'm going to go over just a lot of the different preferences because the world of skylights is very overwhelming and a lot of it's just bells and whistles, and I want to just go over a couple preferences that you may want to do when you decide to add a skylight to the home. And then lastly, I'm just going to put all my information in the description below. If you're somebody that has trouble measuring skylights, making sure you're going to get the right one, what it takes to really add one, please feel free, drop a comment, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer all those questions. So without further ado, let's jump right in. The 2 most common types of skylights are going to be your what we call direct to deck and then also your curb mounted. So the reason it's so important to know what kind of skylight you're dealing with is if you're doing a roof replacement, you need to make sure you order the right materials. The biggest giveaway when it comes to if it's a direct to deck skylight or if it's curb mounted is how it's framed. So when you're looking at a skylight from above, if the framing stops at the roof deck line where the shingles are installed, that means it's direct to deck. So that means when you're pulling that skylight off and putting a new one down, it's just slapping right down, you're nailing it down, and you're good to go after it's flashed. With the curb mounted, that framing is actually going to extend past the roof line. Now, why even have a skylight? So skylights are a great way to just bring natural light into the home. Say you have a lot of sun exposure, but you don't want your electricity running all day. It's a great alternative. Now with the right sun exposure, you don't have to have your lights on during the day. Even on a cloudy day, it's still gonna provide a good bit of sunlight. Most people when they install skylights, they want them in their kitchens for the natural light and then also in their bathrooms. So that's typically where you're gonna find skylights located on a home. Number 2, when to replace the skylight. A lot of this is going to be determined on the age and the condition of the skylight itself. I have a general rule of thumb, if the skylight is usually 5+ years older, I'm just going to opt to have it replaced. Reason being, if it's not a newer skylight where we can just order a brand new flashing kit, what a roofer installer has to do is after they pull that old skylight off and they try to reinstall it, now they're going to have to fabricate a piece of metal in the field and use that as flashing. And I can tell you firsthand, the roof side didn't replace skylights before I knew better. They were older. Almost all of them leaked. It was almost a guarantee because the skylight's going to shift over that hole when it's reinstalled, the shingle's going around it, a new fabricated piece of metal, especially if it's in an area we get a lot of heavy rain, you're just going to run into problems. My general rule of thumb, if it's over about 5 years old and I can't order a brand new flashing kit for it, I'm gonna go ahead and have that skylight replaced, and that's a conversation I'm gonna have with every single homeowner because ultimately it's just in their best decision to go ahead and get that taken care of. If it is something you can order a new flashing kit for, then 9 times out of 10, if the condition of that skylight is good, it's not damaged by storms, it's not damaged by tree branches or anything like that, then yes, you could absolutely go ahead and reuse it. Now, on the flip side of that, if it's something that was damaged by a storm, if it was impacted the actual framing of the skylight, then that's something that is going to be very susceptible to leaks in the future, and I would go ahead and have that replaced. If it's any kind of dome skylight where it's a plastic covering, anything like that, that's usually an indication that it's an older style skylight, and I would definitely get that guy replaced. In fact, more recently there was a hailstorm in my area that was only about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and it broke it in the corners, and we ended up having to come out and tarp those skylights to prevent more water from coming in the home until those skylights can get replaced. Something that's also really important to note is depending on the roofing material, so if you have shingles, slate, wood shake, metal, those are all going to require different kinds of flashing kits because of the thickness of the material, how it lays into it. That way, when it is installed properly, the way the water comes down, it's just going to shed that water. It's not going to pool and it's not going to lead to leaks down the road. So as a contractor, it's something really important to note that and make sure that you're ordering the correct flashing kit that actually coincides with that skylight. Third thing I want to get into is preferences. So personally, we love to install the Velux skylight. It's kind of top of the line. And I think it's where you're going to get the most value for sure. They also come with a 10-year leak-free guarantee, which is really, really great. A lot of preferences you can actually order now too. They actually recently did a customer survey where almost all of them are going to come with tinted glass now, which is really nice. So there's not going to be an overwhelming amount of light that's really going to come through that skylight that's going to like heat the house. One thing that definitely can happen, just like in a window, if you leave sheets or shades near it, over time you can notice that they're going to be sun faded. Same thing can essentially happen with a skylight. So a lot of the preferences you can choose now is different kinds of shade. Single pleated for some light intrusion, but not overwhelming. You can get double pleated, so that's going to be much more room darkening, which is really nice if it's an area that's in like the bathroom, or even occasionally, like what I ran into recently, is the skylights are directly over a bed. So if you're getting morning sun and you're trying to sleep in, that's a big problem. So they opted to get the double pleated shades. One cool addition you can add now is solar power. So they actually come with a little solar panel at the bottom of the shade, and it can actually be remote controlled, which is a pretty cool new feature, instead of something that's manual where you have a 14 to 20 foot extension rod, depending on how tall your ceilings is. We have to hook it up there and turn it up and down. The shades also come in a pretty big variety of colors, which is pretty cool. Depending on how accessible that skylight is, as far as like how low it sits in the ceiling, or if it's in more of like an attic space room. Some homeowners opt to have something called a roof window, which is the same thing as a skylight. However, it's something that can actually open and you can use as a window, which is pretty cool. So I implore you, if you're not familiar with Velux skylights, or if you're just not familiar with skylights in general, and it's something you want to add to your home, definitely check out all those different things and see what makes the most sense for what you're trying to do to your home. Because adding a skylight is going to be a good bit of work, especially if it's something that's not existing on the home right now, because you're also going to have to frame in that space between the rafters and the actual ceiling itself. So definitely something to think about when you're considering adding a skylight to your home. So just a quick summary for you, going over the most common types, which is your deck mounted and your curb mounted, why skylights exist or why even have them added to your home, when to replace them, and I touched on flashing a little bit, the different preferences as far as shades, solar powered, remote control, all those cool bells and whistles you can have now. And then again, feel free to reach out to me if it's something you're kind of unsure about, something you need to measure and you're having trouble figuring it out. Please reach out to me. I'll be glad to help. Thanks for watching, guys.